Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my performance review of the Puma Hali 1. So of course this is Tyrese Haliburton's first signature shoe with Puma, and it's actually designed by Salehi Bembury, right? And as far as the retail price goes, it retails for $130, which is the exact same price as the Puma MB5, which was actually a pretty nice performer. So if you guys do want to cop either of these shoes, I'll try to leave in the free link in the description box. If you do choose to get either of these shoes, it does help me out if you buy it through the free link in the description box. And as always, thank you guys so much for all the support. And also, if you guys have any questions, you guys can always DM me on Instagram. I try to get to all my DMs and reply to you guys. But yeah, let's get it started right off with the Tracciones. And in this colorway, we have a translucent rubber and we have pretty much herringbone going throughout the entire outsole, right? And they're calling this Puma grip. So it's supposed to be abrasion resistant. So it's supposed to be a little bit better for durability if you're playing on outdoor court, of course. So yeah, in terms of durability, it actually feels like it'll be pretty good. The rubber is really freaking hard. The grooves are thick. There's a crazy amount of grooves as well. Like you can see how many like herringbone grooves there are, right? So you should be fine on an outdoor court. And so how is the traction? So if you're playing on a clean court, this shoe has a phenomenal bite, like really nice hard bite. I would actually say it stops a little bit, even a little bit harder than the MB5s, right? So yeah, I had a really good time when I was playing on a super duper clean court. And also this shoe has a very nice loud hybrid squeak, which of course squeak has nothing to do with performance, but this shoe is really freaking squeaky, right? And now moving on to dust performance. How is the dust performance? It's a dust magnet, guys, and it picks up a lot more dust than the MB5s, right? And the MB5 was actually pretty dang nice for dust performance. But the Hali ones, even when I was playing on a pretty clean court, right? Not super immaculate, but like slightly dusty, it would pick up dust pretty quickly, right? And it was also affected by dust a lot, right? So the good thing though is that it's very easy to wipe off, and once I wiped it off, I had really good stops again, right? But it's just like it picks up dust very quickly and it's affected by that dust. So I would start sliding around a good amount when I was playing on even like a slightly dusty court. And when I was playing on like a moderately dusty court, it wasn't very nice, right? I would slide around a lot. I would constantly have to wipe. So moderate, not very nice, you know what I mean? And also very heavy dust, terrible time, you know what I mean? So if you're playing on a dusty court, probably stay away from the shoe. Maybe if they do come out with a solid rubber outsole option, it might have better dust performance. But just from my experience with this colorway with the translucent rubber, I just had terrible dust performance, you know what I mean? So that kind of sucks because, you know, it was such a great bite on a clean court, you know what I mean? So there is the traction there. Moving on to the heel to toe transition, overall pretty smooth, right? Here in the heel, we do have a nice rounded shape, and the overall midsole is a little bit caged on the lateral side and also in the back of the shoe. So it's not like the smoothest heel, you know what I mean? But it doesn't feel super clunky. Just, I would say a little bit, just a tiny bit because of all this caging. But here on the medial side, it's actually like, look at this. Like it's fully exposed, right? But yeah, that's just me nitpicking. I'm sure like a lot of people aren't gonna notice or care too much about that, but for me, I do notice a little bit because, you know, I do notice like the heel to toe transition a lot when I'm doing like fast breaks and stuff like that. And then moving here to the forefoot, we do have a very nice curve shape, however, so that feels extremely nice, right? And then here in the forefoot, it's still extremely freaking stiff, and that's definitely one thing I noticed about the Hali ones. It's able to flex though. It's able to flex, but it's like it has a really like stiff barrier to entry, so you have to put a lot of force into it to actually bend it, right? But it's not like super explosive. There is a little bit of a springy feel, but not super explosive feeling. Like the MB5 though is a lot more flexible feeling, you know what I mean? So here in the I mean, that probably has to do with this though, you know, it's like a midfoot chain plate, but goes all the way here into the forefoot. It's like this U shape as well, or I guess like a Y shape almost, right? Or I guess like X, because there's a little bit of a tail here in the heel. But anyways, it's like more of a stiffer feel, and like torsion support is freaking stiff too. So that's like one of the big differences that I felt when I was playing the Hali ones compared to like a lot of the other shoes that I was playing in. For example, like the Sabrina 3s, the LeBron Witness 9, you know, the MB5s even. You know, this has a lot more of a stiffer feel for the bottom of the shoe, like the sole of the shoe. Even like the Jaw 3. Like Jaw 3 has it's a little bit stiff, like compared to like the Sabrina 3, but it's still a little bit softer here in the Jaw 3 compared to the Hali. Like it's a pretty stiff feel here in the Hali ones. So Yeah, there is a heel to toe transition. Moving on to the cushioning setup. So the cushioning setup is okay. You know what I mean? Like they are using full length nitro foam, right? It says nitro foam right over here, or it just says nitro. But it's just, it didn't break in as nicely for me as the MB5. The MB5, it broke in very, very nicely, and the underfoot cushion is super duper soft. You have a nice bit of heel compression as well, right? But the Hali ones, I would actually say the underfoot cushion is stiffer for me compared to the MB5. Which kind of sucks. Yeah, I guess if you want more of like a responsive or like more stiffer feel, then the Hali one's gonna be better. But I feel like most people just want something a little bit more comfortable, especially underfoot, right? So in terms of core feel, it's weird because when I first got it, the core feel was pretty bad. Maybe like I broke it in and bottomed it out a little bit. But now the overall core feel is comparable to the Jaw 3. You know what I mean? So when I first got it, I was like, yo, the core feel feels terrible. Like it was pretty dang high up off the ground, but now it feels a little bit lower to the ground. It feels, again, like pretty similar to the Jaw 3 and also pretty similar to the MB5, right? So still not the best core feel, but not terrible anymore. Overall impact protection, I would say also is pretty nice. Like it's not super cushy, super comfortable, and super cozy, but like when I was doing like hard impacts and like heel strikes and stuff like that, like my foot just never hurt. You know what I mean? Like again, it didn't feel like I was playing like the GT Hustle 3s or something like that, or the Jordan 4s where there's a crazy amount of compression and bounce and stuff. But overall, it felt nice for the impact protection. Like my foot didn't hurt, you know? But that's about it. You know, there's a little bit of heel compression as well, but just a tiny bit. Again, it's like pretty caged here, especially on the lateral side. And also the freaking rubber is so stiff. I don't know why like Puma does it. It's just so freaking thick and stiff for the outsole. You know, that's one thing I really don't like. The insole, however, is pretty nice, but like you know, like all insoles, once you plane it and break it in, it does get pretty stiff. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it improves the step and comfort just a tiny bit, but not that nice. And again, with the strobo board, it's like a foam strobo board, but like underneath it is pretty glued down. So again, it was more on the stiffer side of things, and still like stiffer for me than like the MB5. So like the Hali one didn't break in super nicely for me, you know? So not a huge fan of the cushioning setup in my personal opinion, right? So there's that. Moving on to the upper. So for the upper, it's also like, it's okay. Like for the $130 price tag, it definitely also doesn't feel amazing, right? So I would say it's a little bit stiffer than the MB5s. The MB5s, like once you break it in, look at this. It's so freaking soft, you know? The Hali ones, it definitely has a little bit more resistance. You know, it feels a little bit stiffer, but it's still pretty soft once you break it. Like, look at this. It still conforms to my foot pretty well. Just not as soft as like the Sabrina 3s or the MB5s, right? Also, you do have like two overlays. You have like one synthetic overlay and also like this U-shaped, it's like a nubuck material, you know what I mean? Like pretty cheap feeling. So yeah, here in the toe box, it's thin, it's minimal. It conforms to my foot pretty well, but it's just like, it's not the softest material that you can get, but it's still like pretty dang soft, especially once you break it in. And then here in the midfoot area, look at this. It like once you break it in, it's like freaking soft. And I thought it was actually gonna like stay stiff, you know, or be stiff because of this kind of like overlay, but it's actually not. So look at this. You know, for the tongue, we have like a very, very minimal padding actually, and you have his logo right on top of the tongue as well. And then on the bottom, it's like a pretty interesting material. It's like a dual, like they're using two types of materials, like a mesh and like another overlay over that. It's also half booty construction tongue, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit, like most modern basketball shoes. And then here in the ankle area, it's weird because it's like a hard feeling foam. It's not like super soft, but it's not like super thick either. You know what I mean? But I would say it's around normal. It feels kind of cozy, kind of comfortable, not super minimal, but not super thick. You know, the MB5 is a lot thicker, you know, it's a lot more padding. So yeah, the overall material, I mean, also not the best for quality. We do have an external heel counter as well, and we have like the Puma logo here on the lateral and medial side of the shoe. Quality not the best, but it's thin. It feels overall kind of supportive, you know what I mean? Your typical kind of like modern day basketball shoe material, you know? So yeah, there is the upper there. Moving on to the fit. So the fit was hugely a disappointment for me, right? So when I first got it, I was like, yo, it's like roomy. But then obviously once I broke it in, it got even roomier. Look at the scrunching on this. Look at that, you know what I mean? So it's freaking hella roomy here in the toe box for me. It runs pretty dang long and it is pretty wide for me, right? So I want the exact same size here in the MB5s, and the MB5s are really nice and snug. Maybe it has to do with the ankle area, maybe, you know what I mean? Because here in the ankle area, like the padding is pretty thick, so maybe the ankle padding is pushing my foot forward a little bit, and maybe that's why it feels a little bit more snug in the MB5 for me. I don't know. Either way, the Hali ones are just... And again, like I want the same exact size, and I also want the same exact size here in the Jaw 3s as well. Like these are all the same exact size, you know what I mean? And these two fit me perfectly, like really well. And then the Hali ones are just so freaking long, so roomy here in the toe box, right? And if you tried the MB5 and you know what size you want in the MB5 or the MB4s, go down half a size from that for the Hali ones, right? It was just a terrible fit for me. My foot was swimming inside of the toe box, so just swimming inside of the shoe. Lockdown was not great for me. So that's one thing that I really didn't like about the shoe. I definitely feel like if the fit was better for me, I would have liked the shoe a lot more. You know what I mean? So, yeah. There is the fit there. Moving on to the support and lockdown. The support and lockdown is really freaking good though. Like, again, like this shoe has a really stiff feel for the bottom of the shoe. I guess the upper is a little bit more on the softer side of things. But yeah, as far as the lateral containment goes, I mean, look at the foam. The foam comes up acting as a sidewall on the entire lateral side of the shoe, so my foot's not coming out of the footbed at all. And even if you're a bigger dude, you should be fine. However, the material isn't the most structurally supportive feeling upper, you know what I mean? So your foot's gonna move inside of the shoe a little bit, just a tiny bit. I'm not saying it's terrible or anything, but if you want more of like a stiffer feel, like, you know, in the AE2s, you know, like the Harden Volume 9s, and from like the upper, then the Hali one isn't the best, but I feel like most people, you should be fine, right? And also lateral stability was okay for me too. Like I didn't really have any huge issues, and you can see it does have a pretty dang wide base. It does protrude out here in the forefoot, and overall heel lockdown was pretty good for me too. You know, again, it's just the lockdown in the forefoot was just terrible because of the fit, which is my fault. And it's not my fault though, you know what I mean? They made it really roomy. Like, how is the fit so freaking different? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they're the exact same size, the exact same length, it seems like as well, but like the Hali ones were just so freaking roomy for me, you know? But anyways, there is a support and lockdown there. Moving on to the weight of the shoe. Also, the shoe was not super lightweight, you know what I mean? Let's check the right pair. Comes in at 12.85 ounces. Let's check the other shoe. 13 ounces, right? So the average weight of my shoes for modern day basketball shoes is around 12 ounces, right? So yeah, it definitely is on the heavier side of things. It feels heavy, it feels stiff, it feels a little bit bulky as well because of, I guess, like the foam, like on the sides, just a tiny bit though, you know what I mean? Is it responsive? It definitely is responsive though. Like when I was playing on a clean court, the traction was freaking phenomenal though, you know what I mean? So when I was playing on a clean court, I felt really quick, but I definitely did miss like the softer, more comfortable, cushiony feel that I get from like the MB5 compared to the Hali ones. You know, that kind of sucks, and I'm not a huge fan of the cushion in my personal opinion, you know what I mean, in the Hali ones. So yeah, and also, is it responsive on a dusty court? No. Like I had a terrible time, and also with the roomy fit, I just felt really slow and sluggish when I was playing on like a slightly dusty to a really dusty court in the Hali ones. So yeah, there is the weight there. Moving on to the aesthetics. Yeah, not a huge fan. I feel like it doesn't look too good in my personal opinion, you know what I mean? So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. And moving on to the ventilation. Ventilation's okay. You know, there's a little bit of airflow through this actual upper, just a tiny bit. And also it is thin, so it doesn't like keep in heat too well. So overall ventilation, I would say, is pretty good. It's not amazing, you know, like the Shadow 6 V2 or something like that, but yeah, it's pretty good airflow, right? So wrapping things up, yeah, not a huge fan of the Hali ones. It was okay. I definitely feel like if the fit was a little bit better, you know, if I went down half a size from what I did here, and it fit me better, I wouldn't hate it as much, you know what I mean? But also, it's not my type of shoe, you know? For me, I like a really soft feeling, like nimble feeling shoe, you know, like on the bottom, like for the sole. Like for example, the Jaw 3 is pretty nimble feeling, you know, it's soft. Same thing with the MB5. It's very flexible here in the forefoot. Sabrina 3s. Right here, same thing, right? Very flexible, you know. The Hali ones, really freaking stiff, you know. Again, it is able to flex, but it's like right over here, and it just has a really stiff feel underfoot. The cushion was lackluster. The traction was really bad on dust. So yeah, just wasn't a huge fan of the Hali ones. For me, I would just take the MB5s, you know what I mean? Especially since it is the same exact price and they're both from Puma, you know? But the only reason I would say to get the Hali ones is if you want that stiffer feel underfoot, you know what I mean? But again, like also the traction, I don't think a lot of people are gonna like, especially if you're playing on that dusty court. So yeah, for me, I just really didn't like playing the shoe too much. Like there was a lot of other shoes in my rotation that I was testing, and I would say the Hali one was probably my least favorite in the rotation of all the shoes that I was testing while I was testing all those shoes, right? So anyways, that about concludes my performance review of the Puma Hali one. Again, if you guys want to cop, I try to leave the free link in the description box, but I probably wouldn't recommend it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.